You don't look comfortable. आप कुर्सी में बैठना चाहें, हाँ, आप ठीक हैं ऐसे? अगर ज्यादा वो हो ना तो कुर्सी में बैठिएगा, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. Yeah. So we can sit upright wherever we are, and this is good for the flow of energy. अंग्रेजी में बोलूंगा तो समझ में आएगा या नहीं? आप दोनों को पूरा समझ में आएगा ना? Yeah. Okay, everyone. Yeah, one should, I don't know, राष्ट्र भाषा बोलना चाहिए, लेकिन अंग्रेज हो गया, क्या करें? Okay. So upright back is good. It's good for our health, good for our confidence, and it's a very good posture to meditate in. What is meditation? We will talk about this a little bit perhaps later. But for now, let's sit quietly and just think. Let's be very grateful we can be here together. Because, I just came from one very crowded part of Delhi. And you see all the people rushing around, and you wonder, क्या कर रहे हैं, कहाँ से आ रहे हैं, कहाँ जा रहे हैं? What are they doing in their lives? Are they finding any lasting happiness or satisfaction? And then लगता है कि रोज दफ्तर जा रहे हैं, काम पे जा रहे हैं, लौट रहे हैं, ट्रैफिक में फंस रहे हैं. And of course, दुनिया भर में यही हो रहा है. People are working hard just to survive, many people. And after some time, people will get sick, some people will get old, everybody will die. So then what has been achieved in this life? Is life just for surviving? Just for, getting some education, getting some job, filling one's stomach, getting old and dying? Is that the meaning of life? We have to check. I think we're fortunate if we have any interest in Buddhism or some inner, we should say, inner search, inner development. We're not satisfied with just eating, sleeping, drinking, and so forth. Even animals can do that, after all. So we are not animals, or at least we are a different kind of animal with very unusual intelligence. So it's good that we are investigating spiritual path, investigating our minds. According to Lord Buddha, mind is of great importance. Outer development is good, but it's not as important as developing our mind, because Buddha said source of happiness, source of suffering is in our mind, the main source. So if we are willing to spend some time to investigate this, that is very wonderful. And in addition to that, if we have some understanding of how much we depend upon other people, how much we rely on them, starting with our parents, then there arises, I think, some wish to be of some benefit to other people. We cannot remain uninterested in other people and their problems, their suffering. Buddha spoke a lot about suffering and the cause of suffering, but also how we could get free of suffering completely, forever. This he also taught. He taught the path towards that liberation from suffering. But he also taught that we can be of great benefit to other people. We can help others also be free. So when we practice meditation, we are perhaps getting closer to being able to help ourselves and help others through training the mind. And the other reason why we meditate, one main reason, is because we can become, what shall we say? We can get rid of the disturbing factors in our mind. In fact, Buddha said that we all have, well, there are Sanskrit words, Sugata Garb, Tathagat Garb, meaning we have the Buddha energy, Buddha potential within us. Everyone has that. And through meditation, we can awaken more and more this Buddha potential and free ourselves from the being conditioned or slaves to the disturbing emotions. क्लेश जो बोलते हैं संस्कृत में, द्वेष और लालच, अज्ञानता, ये सब, ईर्ष्या, जलन, ये सब जो चीजें हैं ना, ये क्लेश माने जाते हैं, delusions. इससे हम लोग मुक्त हो सकते हैं, हमेशा के लिए नहीं है. लेकिन जो तथागत गर्भ है, जो बुद्धा नेचर है, वो कभी खराब नहीं हो सकता है, वो कभी खत्म नहीं हो सकता है, वो अमर रहेगा, खाली उसको जगाना है. So first we have to make this mind a little bit more stable. अभी तो पागल हाथी बंदर जैसे घूमता रहता है ये दिमाग, उसको केंद्रित करना है, वरना ये बहुत ही नुकसान पहुंचा सकता है. So please bring your attention to the breathing, ordinary breathing. जैसे सांस ले रहे हैं और छोड़ रहे हैं, pay attention to that. Pay attention to the sensation you have as you breathe in and out at the tip of your nostrils. उस जगह पर ध्यान दीजिए, आराम से, तनाव के साथ नहीं. Let there be a sense of ease and relaxation, but together with being very attentive and awake. ये भी जरूरी है. And as we pay attention, we notice thoughts will come, so we can be aware of that, but not get involved with them. Do not get involved in some thinking process, in any story, any memory, or plans for the future. Just let them go. Drop them and come back to the breathing. Again and again, however often is necessary, come back to the breathing. So we'll practice like this for a few minutes. Keep the body still, the mind relaxed, but attentive and awake. Let there be a sense of letting go, relaxing as you breathe out. When the mind wanders, just gently bring it back to the breath. Yeah, so welcome everyone. Sorry, I said we'd start at 7, but I started before 7, so I apologize for that as well. Starting late and then starting before I said I'd start. Koi baat nahi. All of you online are old timers, you can forgive that. We also Venerable Kundrol here, who's in Delhi for a while from Bodh Gaya. Welcome. And welcome to everybody else. So we have some new people here, so I'll just briefly give a very short introduction to certain matters, and then we'll proceed. You don't have the texts. There's one here also. So we'll be looking at chapter 7. But just before that, I suppose you are familiar with some basics of Buddhism. If not, as I said before, Buddha realized that the mind, the training of the mind was the main work to be engaged in, not so much the outer work, although outer work is important for survival and so forth, but the inner work determines whether or not we have lasting happiness or not. Most of us are caught up, the Buddha said, in suffering. Maybe if if you don't look at the book right now, it's better because I'm giving this introduction for beginners. Then later we can go to chapter 7. So basically, Buddha is saying we can attain liberation, as I mentioned earlier, through purifying the mind, training the mind. We can attain nirvana, as we call it, mukti, kalyan, kaivalya, kai shabd hain, the Hindu tradition, but in Buddhism we mainly use the word nirvana, where that person who attains nirvana is beyond any kind of suffering. But this text we're looking at is based on what we call the Mahayana Buddhism. Mahayana Buddhism spread to countries like Nepal, Tibet, Mongolia, Japan, China, although it did exist a little bit in Sri Lanka, Thailand, and Burma as well, initially, but not anymore really. So in Mahayana, as the word suggests, Mahayana, great vehicle, it's a great vehicle because the intention is very vast, is very great. The intention of Mahayana is not just to liberate oneself. Yeah, that is the goal of basic Buddhism, which is of course wonderful. But Mahayana says that we are capable of becoming fully awakened people who can work for the benefit of others continuously. So the aim of the Mahayana person is to become a Buddha in order to save all beings from suffering, to work for the liberation of all beings. In fact, to come back into the world again and again and again in order to help others. As you may know, Buddhism speaks of a continuum of mind. Mind is not destroyed by the death of the body. Mind continues. So if one has a sufficiently powerful mind which has been meditating on wisdom, compassion, loving kindness, and so forth, then we can even affect how and where we will be reborn. So in Mahayana, the people who get to a high level, they aspire, they train to be reborn so that they can continue their work benefiting others. That is their main purpose, to lead everyone to awakening, to enlightenment. However, the basic Buddhist path consists of the path that leads to nirvana is very important for everybody because that path consists of controlling the mind, engaging in moral conduct, not harming others, specifically not harming others, and then developing a stable mind, calming the mind, making it one-pointed, because right now, as you know, the mind is all over the place. We cannot even sit for 2 minutes, 1 minute without the mind going everywhere. So we have to calm this mind, make it one-pointed, so that we can engage in understanding wisdom. This is very important in Buddhism, wisdom. Wisdom means understanding who we are, or rather who we really are, not who we think we are, because what we think we are is mistaken, according to Lord Buddha. We think we are some kind of very solid, independent person, totally separate from the world, separate from others. But according to Buddha, it's not like that. So anyway, in short, we have to develop wisdom. So if we practice the Shil, Samadhi, Pragya, jo bolte hain, moral conduct, concentration, wisdom, then we can attain nirvana. But that is necessary for everybody to practice that first. It's like a foundation. So Mahayana people cannot say we will ignore those 3 things. They also need that very much. We can't help others if we don't have wisdom. And we cannot get wisdom without a concentrated mind. And concentrated mind is not possible without some kind of harmonious, beneficial lifestyle. So this text is based on people who is guidance for people who understand that we need to engage in the basic path, but then it is encouraging us to develop this very vast attitude of caring for others, working for others. So this mind, which is aspiring to become awakened in order to help others, is called Bodhichitta. Bodhichitta. So this word comes up again and again. Bodhi means, as you know, probably awakened or awake. Bodhi in life, awake. Chitta, as we know in modern Hindi, is mind. Or mind. In general, we can say mind. So Bodhichitta is a mind that is aspiring towards awakening. It's an awakening mind. It is determined to become fully enlightened. And this is something unique to Mahayana. Mahayana believes everybody can become a Buddha. This may come as a surprise to some of us, but it's not like there's just one historical Buddha और बाकी हम लोग हमेशा ऐसे ही रहेंगे. ऐसा नहीं है. हम सब बुद्ध बन सकते हैं. सब में बुद्ध का बीज है और उसका ठीक से पालन पोषण करेंगे तो हम सब बुद्ध बन सकते हैं. यही है कि एक जीवन के अंदर ये समाप्त करना तो संभव नहीं है, लेकिन धीरे धीरे जन्म से जन्म हम लोग आगे बढ़ सकते हैं. तो this very, 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 very brief summary of certain main factors. So this is a Mahayana text we are studying by Shantideva. He was an 8th century person. He is said to have been someone who had developed this marvelous mind of Bodhichitta. So he is a Bodhisattva. Bodhisattva is someone who has developed the Bodhichitta in their mind. They have developed that genuinely, properly. So their life is dedicated, therefore, towards benefiting others. Not just benefiting in the sense of giving people food, drink, medicine, shelter. That, of course, but the main thing to benefit people by leading them along the path to Buddhahood, to awakening. It's okay to feed people and give them, money and food, shelter, and some kindness, of course, all these things. But those things will only help them for one lifetime. So how do we help people life to life is through the dharma, giving the authentic teachings, which can really help them to liberate their minds and plant very, very powerful sanskars, positive potentials in the mind, which can then develop the fruit of Buddhahood. So, that's just some basic words. This is a very wonderful text. We've already finished 6 chapters. Last chapter was a very important one on patience, basically how to cope with anger, how to cope with problems that come up and not give up, and also patience in the sense of engaging in positive activity, dharma activity, wholesome activity. So patience is required for all of those things. But you could say the main emphasis of this chapter was to help us to overcome the mind of anger. Because Shantideva said in that chapter that anger is something that destroys our positive potential. We may have developed a lot of positive qualities in our mind and positive energy, but anger can really destroy that. Can destroy it because it's very powerful, like fire can destroy. So a lot of emphasis in this chapter on patience we just finished is on working with that and overcoming the angry mind and seeing how actually there's no rational basis in developing anger for, towards others. Now, this chapter is very important because it deals with virya. है ना? Virya बोलते हैं हिंदी में. Virya is effort, exertion, enthusiasm.
Virya.
Virya is it? Pronounced virya?
Virya.
Hmm?
Virya is something else.
Dhairya is something else. This is virya.
Virya is bravery. No.
I think the technical word is in Sanskrit is virya. Yeah.
It's a
वीरता जैसे बना है.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, it doesn't matter what the Sanskrit is. You can check it later. But this is Shantideva in the first two verses. He explains exactly what he's talking about. Having patience, I should develop enthusiasm. For awakening will dwell only in those who exert themselves. Just as there is no movement without wind, so merit does not occur without enthusiasm. So धीरज धैर्य हम प्राप्त करके हमको ये वीर्य हमको. What's the general Hindi word for enthusiasm? Who would you say?
उत्साह.
उत्साह.
Yeah.
एक तरह का उत्साह पैदा करना है, क्योंकि जगने के लिए अपने दिमाग को जगाने के लिए उस तरह के दिमाग में ये जो बोधि जो है, इस तरह का दिमाग उन्हीं लोगों में रह सकता है जो अपने को जो मेहनत करते हैं who exert themselves, उत्साह के साथ अपने को मेहनत करके आगे बढ़ते हैं. Just as there is no movement without wind. I think it's easy to understand. हवा के बगैर कुछ हिलता नहीं है. So पुण्य पैदा नहीं हो सकता है बगैर उत्साह के. Yeah. Without enthusiasm, nothing happens. We cannot generate positive energy or punya, positive actions. And here, next verse, very clearly he says what is enthusiasm in at least some kind of summary or key word, you could say, key phrase. What is enthusiasm? Finding joy in what is wholesome. Joy in what is wholesome. So if you look around, if we look in our life and in the world, what do people spend a lot of time doing? Do people find joy in wholesomeness? Are a lot of people engaging in wholesome actions, positive actions, beneficial actions? Are people finding happiness in those kind of actions? What are people doing? We can take a look and see. What are the factors which are opposed to enthusiasm? There are three things are often mentioned in the text, and Shantideva is also mentioning them. Laziness, attraction to what is harmful, 2, and 3, despising oneself out of despondency. तो मतलब सुस्ती कहेंगे? सुस्ती, general word. आलस. No? Yeah, that's yeah. Attraction to what is harmful, that's clear. Attraction to what is harmful. Or there are some other things said about that, I'll mention in a minute. Or apne ko despise karna. What's to despise in Hindi? Girna karna. That's to blame, no?
No.
Hate. Despise. Not quite hatred. Anyway, you understand the English word despise? अपने को बहुत नीचे समझना, अपने को वो करना. Yeah. To despise oneself out of despondency. Nirasha type ka, despair, despondency. So what are these things? Laziness is sometimes in the teachings they speak of procrastination. Aaj kyun karun kaam? I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it later. Not doing what needs to be done, actually. Laziness, we understand. We get sleepy, we don't meditate, we don't study, we can't be bothered, we say we'll do it later. We may be very good people, very kind, good people, but we don't spend energy in practicing or engaging in study and so forth. So this is laziness, yeah. The second one, attraction to what is harmful, that's an interesting one. It's sometimes they say this is actually just being very concerned with worldly activities. Matlab, you have a house, you have a car maybe, you have a family, or even if you don't have family, but you spend a lot of time, a lot of energy in worldly things connected with,
Materialistic.
material, buying, shopping, cleaning, checking, catalogs for what you want to buy next. जो भी है, बहुत कुछ करते हैं हम लोग, बहुत कुछ, पूरा दिन 12 घंटे तो कम से कम भर जाते हैं इन चीजों से. Of course, we have to pay bills, we have to do things like that, but to become overly concerned with these things, overly concerned with news, we have to read the newspaper, thoroughly, then we are satisfied. That takes a lot of time. Then, of course, we have to clean the car, we have to do all sorts of things. But to spend extra time on those things, to be caught up in those things, to then get caught up in entertainments all the time. A lot of entertainments are available now. So to get caught up in those entertainments, this takes up a lot of time. But not only that, we do engage also in unwholesome activities, a lot of people. Maybe gambling, maybe, just all sorts of things. Drinking, too much, gossiping, that's a very favorite one. चाय पी रहे हैं मजे में और एक दूसरों का वो कर रहे हैं, चुगली कर रहे हैं, बहुत कुछ कर रहे हैं हम लोग. We're doing all sorts of negative actions again and again, and we're enjoying it. That's the thing. We're enjoying it. It's not that we're not enjoying it. We're enjoying doing these things. It says attraction to what is harmful. It's not just saying we're doing it unconsciously. We actually like doing these things. So then there's no time left, you see, for a dharma practice, for study, for reflection, for discussing, and then for meditation. So all the time gets caught up in these things. So that is what is meant by attraction to what is harmful. Just spending a lot of time on things which are not conducive to spiritual growth or even contentment. Just buying a lot of things again and again. Maybe we just buy it, keep on wanting to buy crockery, or we want to buy, could be anything, right? If you have enough money, then you can buy all sorts of things. And one is not happy to stop. One keeps on going. So this is a big opposing factor to this kind of enthusiasm. Because here, enthusiasm is not enthusiasm in negativity, right? He has already defined enthusiasm as being happy in engaging in wholesome activity, joy in what is wholesome. Of course, a lot of people in the world show a lot of enthusiasm for all kinds of negative research, for harming each other, for killing, all sorts of things. You can see all sorts of crazy people and world leaders who show a lot of enthusiasm in the wrong direction. So that is not the enthusiasm Shantideva is talking about. Okay, what is the third factor that opposes enthusiasm? This is a very important one. It is this despising oneself out of despondency. What is the translation in the other text? It is defeatism and self-contempt. Defeatism and self-contempt. मैं नहीं कर सकता, मेरे बस का नहीं है, मैं कुछ नहीं हूँ, मैं तो बेकार हूँ, मैं तो साधारण व्यक्ति हूँ, ये तो सब संत लोगों का काम है, मैं नहीं कर सकता. Thinking like that. Defeatism and self-contempt. Thinking, oh, it's okay, the Buddha can do these things, he was a very special person. Or my guru is a very special person, he can do things, but
lack of self-confidence.
Exactly, it's connected with that. Connected with very bad case of lack of self-confidence, yeah. So, and it's connected, you can see, with laziness, It's very easy to say, I can't do it, other people can do it, mere bas ka nahi hai. It's also kind of laziness, you know. So there are actually three kinds of laziness. These are actually sometimes called the three kinds of laziness. The laziness of procrastination, delaying, not just being lazy. The laziness of, or dharma laziness, you could say. It's a laziness from a dharma perspective of just engaging in ordinary, unwholesome, worldly actions. And then the laziness of self-contempt. That is also kind of laziness in the sense we can use it as an excuse. I can't do it. Bas, chhod diya. It becomes our big excuse. So that is also connected with laziness, isn't it? I think we see that sometimes in our daily life also. It's easy to get out of something by saying, oh, I can't do that, you know. Some job is a little bit difficult. We couldn't care to do it. We're lazy. I can't do that, you know, for whatever reason. We give maybe different reasons. You know, I'm too old, I'm too sick, I'm too weak, I'm too busy, I'm too whatever, but we can't do it. So then, so these three are very, very, very powerful factors which stop us from getting enlightened and helping others, even though we may be very decent, kind people whom people praise for being, you know, a nice person, good person. But if we have these kind of laziness, it's no use. We cannot generate bodhicitta. We won't be able to progress, right? What can help us? Of course, Shantideva will speak about various things, but right now might be a good time to, well, I'll just mention a couple of verses, then I'll speak about something that can be mentioned here. But there are some very powerful verses now, yes, which remind us of chapter 2. I'll just read some of them and then we can look at them. Sometimes good to just read through and get the vibration of this, yeah? It's quite a powerful vibe. Because of attachment to the pleasurable taste of idleness, because of craving for sleep, because of having no disillusion with the misery of samsara, laziness grows very strong. Caught up in the snare, the trap of disturbing conceptions, I have entered the trap of birth. Why am I still not aware that I live in the mouth of the Lord of Death? Do I not see that he is systematically slaughtering my species? Whoever remains soundly asleep surely is behaving like a buffalo with a butcher. When, having blocked off every escape route, the Lord of Death is looking for someone to kill, then how can I enjoy eating? Likewise, how can I enjoy sleep? For as long as death is actually approaching, then I shall accumulate merits. Even if I then put a stop to laziness, what will be the use? That is not the time. When this has not been done, when this is being done, and when this is only half finished, suddenly the Lord of Death will come. And the thought will occur, oh no, I'm done for. Their faces flowing with tears, their eyes red, swollen with sorrow. My relatives will finally lose hope, and I shall behold the vision of the messengers of death. Tormented by the memory of my wrongdoing, hearing the sounds of hell, in terror, I shall clothe my body in excrement. What virtue can I do in such a delirious state? और ऐसे ही चल रहा है अब ये. This is not very pleasant to read. Later, of course, Shantideva says that, you know, we have this human body. In verse 14, he says, relying upon this boat of a human body, free yourself from the great river of pain. It's hard, as it is hard to find this boat again. This is no time for sleep, you fool. Verse 14, very powerful verse. It's often quoted because it is no nonsense verse, yeah. It's not diplomatic. So take advantage of this human boat. Free yourself from sorrow's mighty stream. This vessel will be later hard to find. The time that you have now, you fool, is not for sleep. Yeah. So what I wanted to mention earlier is that especially with this defeatism and self-contempt, one of the most powerful things we have in the teachings is what I mentioned earlier, the teaching on Buddha nature. We all have the potential to become a Buddha. We all have the Buddha nature. Right now, it is obscured by the clouds of disturbing emotions, of these kinds of laziness, all of these things obscure our Buddha nature. Yeah. So, however, we can study about Buddha nature and we can also reflect on it in an intelligent way with logic. And once we have some feeling that, okay, it might be true that I have this deeper level of awareness in my mind, right now a little bit hidden, just like the sun can be hidden for a long time by clouds, but then we know it's there and it comes out, you know. So in the same way, we have this Buddha nature. One thing that one Lama once said made some sense to me. He said, why is it that we are so hard to satisfy? Why is it so hard for a human being to be satisfied by anything? And he said the reason for that is because we have Buddha nature. The reasoning is like this. We have Buddha nature, so we will only be satisfied completely when we fulfill our potential, which is to become Buddha. It's like the seed of a peepal tree, Bodhi tree, has in it the awareness, let's say, or the potential to become a huge Bodhi tree, right? Beautiful Bodhi tree. It is not satisfied until it becomes that tree. It is not satisfied to be a seed in the ground. It's not satisfied to be a small sprout, even a small tree. It knows it can become a big tree, that kind of idea. So we are only satisfied, we will only be fully satisfied when we fulfill who we really are, right? Which is a Buddha. You and I are Buddhas. Right now, just a little bit crazy, mixed up, confused Buddhas, you know. So, of course, we'll not be content right now. I found that logic very interesting. This is Sita Rinpoche gave that. He is regarded very, very amazing teacher, Sita Rinpoche. So, yeah, we have the Buddha nature. If we really realize that, then how can we become full of despair or discouraged? You know, we realize, okay, right now the sun is obscured, the clouds are there, but that doesn't mean the sun doesn't exist. Doesn't mean clouds cannot be, cannot part. It doesn't mean that the garbage cannot be cleared. You see, another example given for Buddha nature is a treasure buried in the ground, which we're not aware of. So once we're aware of it, we can dig it out. Also, the other example is a jewel, beautiful jewel, let's say a diamond, in a garbage heap, you know, this huge garbage heap we have here in Delhi. I can't remember, there are several. What's that big one you were mentioning the other day, Navinji? Ghazipur. Huge. Imagine how much garbage there is there. How many hundreds, tons, thousands of tons of garbage. Say somebody had mischievously, placed a diamond there, 10 years ago. तो सोचिए हर घर का जो कूड़ा है उस पे फेंक दिया गया है तो it will be hard to find that jewel, no? But potentially it is there. धीरे धीरे कूड़ा को हटा के वो दिखाई पड़ेगा, But while it is there, it is not being destroyed. It is not even being, bruised or anything. It is just hidden. If it's diamond, nothing is harming it. It is just hidden, that's all. So same way, our Buddha nature, although deeply hidden maybe right now, it is not tainted, it is not harmed by anything. It is not scratched, it is not harmed. However awful we behave, however awfully we behave, we may be a serial killer, but we cannot harm our Buddha nature. This is very encouraging. It's like we cannot destroy that seed. So this also makes us feel not only confident that we can progress, but it also helps us, I think, to feel respect for others, because everybody has the same Buddha nature that you and I have. Everybody. So we cannot look down on anyone. And in fact, any being with a mind has potentially Buddha nature. So it means a dog, cat, mosquito, scorpion, snake, they all have Buddha nature. Potentially. But you see, as animals, they cannot activate it in that animal body. They don't have the intelligence. We humans can actually activate it. वो जानवरों के बस की बात नहीं है, हम लोग कर सकते हैं. So that's why it's so fortunate to be a human being. We can awaken our Buddha nature through practice, spiritual practice. Animals, poor things, they can only do what animals do, largely, although they can be very loyal and helpful, but they cannot unpack, they cannot uncover their Buddha nature. So we have this. And because we have the Buddha nature, there is absolutely no cause for depression or despair. I mean, there are causes, but this is a good thing to remember, that if I am really have the potential to be perfect like a Buddha, then all of the troubles I have right now, they are temporary, just temporary. So we all have a hibernating Buddha within us. This is the good news, the very good news. Hibernating Buddha. Yeah. So animals in hibernation, like bears and others, their heartbeat goes right down. You can hardly know that they are there. They're almost like dead. But then the warmer weather comes and they wake up, they come out of the ground, start looking for honey and ants or whatever they have. So we are like that. Even in winter, you could say, if you're in a place where there is snow, underneath the snow, it seems like everything might be dead, but then the snow melts and you see all this new growth under the snow. So there is always room for hope. Well, a good hope, healthy hope, not a vain hope. Yeah. So that's one very strong reason to not have despondency. So, however, of course, it takes a while to give up our conditioning, right? We may be conditioned by whatever parents, childhood, teachers, society, to think that we are very limited. And we may, through news and media, feel that basically we are an angry species or something like that, or greedy. But deeper down, we are not those things. So that's very good news, no? You think that's good news? So there's bad news in Buddhism and then good news. Buddha gives the bad news first. He says everything is dukkha, everything is suffering. But then the news gets better because he says there's a cause. So if there's a cause, that's actually a good news, because it's not like saying, oh, there's a problem and pata nahi kahan se aaya, iska karan kya hai, pata nahi. That would be bad news, bad. But the doctor knows the cause of the sickness, and he says there's medicine to cure it. The sickness can be cured, and there is medicine. You have to take the medicine. So, but the only reason the medicine works is because our body has the potential to go back to a state of harmony and health, right? So that's like the Buddha nature. If we didn't have Buddha nature, then the disturbing emotions would be always dominant. Just like if we didn't have the ability to come back to some kind of balance or health in general, then there would be no point taking medicines. We would be forever sick. But that's not the case. Of course, it's just an analogy. It cannot work totally. But of course, some people cannot be cured of their sickness in this life, their physical sickness, but also similarly, we can't be cured of our mental sickness in just one life necessarily. It can take many lives. But Shantideva is saying here, now he's telling us that why are we being lazy? Because death is around the corner. Death is around the corner. You know, we're in the mouth of the Lord of Death. And can I not see? Can't I open my eyes and see what's happening? Don't I see that people are dying? So if I just remain asleep, meaning unawakened spiritually and so forth, then I'm just like an animal being led to the slaughter. Of course, even buffaloes and chickens and goats, they have some awareness. I've seen buffaloes I've never seen in a line, but chickens and goats, they don't look happy when they're in the line. You know, when a chicken the head is being cut off of a chicken, then the other chickens they're not happy, and I'm sure they smell the blood and know kind of what's happening. Goats as well. So anyway, buffaloes I'm not sure, but I'm sure they may not be. They would find it very they would be distressed, very distressed. Since they have feelings, they have animals have their sensitivities, right? So anyway, how can I enjoy eating and sleeping? Shantideva says, because you know, death is there. I cannot escape. There's all these interesting stories, aren't there, in the traditions where somebody thinks they've escaped death by going to another place, and of course, death is standing there and saying, "Yeah, I was waiting for you," kind of thing. You know? I have an appointment with you here. You know, आप हौस खास में हैं, भाग गए चांदनी चौक, लेकिन मौत वहीं खड़ा हुआ है, कह रहा है, हाँ, नहीं, वही हम सोच रहा था, आप थोड़ा लेट हो गए, यहीं मिलना था आपसे, चांदनी चौक में. So, you know, like that. There's some very interesting and kind of semi-humorous stories in the traditions, aren't there? So death cannot be sidestepped, unfortunately, or yeah. And then if we argue that, you know, death is approaching, okay, I'll accumulate merit at that time. Is that what it says? Is that what the other verses say? Death will swoop on you so swiftly. Gather merit till that moment comes. Or even if you then throw off your indolence, yeah, it's like saying, don't wait till the last moment. Don't wait till the last moment. Deathbed confessions and all may have some slight, you know, value, but basically not much. What will you do when there is no more time? This I haven't done, this I'm only starting, this thing I'm only halfway through it, you know. Then is the sudden coming of the Lord of Death. You know, we have many projects, don't we? Some people have many, many projects. I find I don't have so many. Well, yeah, I have projects. I have projects. I was telling someone today of my projects, what I want to do the rest of my life. But if I breathe too much Delhi air, then I don't know I'll be able to accomplish those projects. Not in one piece anyway. So yeah, maybe one has to leave Delhi. So yeah, we have many things we want to do, and we cannot do them. And then we'll be upset when we're too sick, or maybe we lose interest in certain good, you know, things we want to do over time, and then something that would have been beneficial, you know, doesn't happen. We get distracted and then we die. You'll look upon the faces of your hopeless friends, their tear-stained cheeks, their red and swollen eyes, for such will be the depths of their distress. And then you'll see the heralds of the deadly Lord. This is a different translation, okay? Don't worry. Yeah. Tormented, the memory of your former sins will torture you. The screams and din of hell break on your ears. With very terror you will foul yourself. What will you do in such a delirium? One of the monks in our organization who did a lot of work, he's been a monk for 40, 50 years now, and he was inspired to investigate the Buddhist teachings when he saw how his father died. His father had been a head of a very large meat producing organization in Australia. They were very rich. This monk said that when he was working for his father, it would be nothing for him to catch a flight from, Melbourne to Sydney to have, lunch and then come back for dinner to Melbourne, like that, just a lot of jet setting. He had a big business, big meat business. And then his father got sick and was dying. And his father had a terrible death. A lot of fear. Many things might have been there. But it was that experience that made this person want to give that up. And then he met Lama Yeshe and helped to start a center in Melbourne, the Tara Institute in Melbourne. Rirji has been there. So, seeing his father die like that was very powerful for this person. And he'd seen a lot of things. He had been because he was Jewish, he had also been a paratrooper. He had parachuted into Jerusalem during one of the wars there, probably the 73 wars, whatever. He had seen many things in his life, but seeing his father die, that really changed his mind. Not so much the killing and whatever happened in Jerusalem, but seeing his father die in that way was something very, very powerful. So, yeah, that stimulated him to really become a monk. He became later, but initially he then helped Lama Yeshe start a center in Melbourne. So, and I think people can see how old people sometimes die. They may not be, and yeah, his father was shouting and screaming, things like that. It was very painful to watch, And so our parents or friends may not die like that, but often there are a lot of difficulties when people die, a lot of difficulties. And so that will be too late for anybody to start, thinking about enthusiasm in terms of Dharma practice, because there's just too much pain and terror. Often terror, because it's said that, especially if one has engaged in a lot of unwholesomeness, there's many kind of visions one has before actual death happens. And even if one hasn't engaged in a lot of unwholesomeness, many things can come up from past lives also at that time. Karmic seeds from past lives can be awakened. I remember how, a little bit about my grandfather, how he died, although I wasn't there with him. I was very close to him, and my mother was with him. He was having all kinds of visions, spiders and this and that, not nice. And then he died. So at that time, it'll be too late to engage in any kind of practice. But this is going to happen to all of us, death at least. So hopefully we won't die like that. And we won't have friends around crying and all of this. That will not be helpful. We might think crying and showing a lot of grief around dying people is good, but apparently not. it makes sense. Who wants to be disturbed when you're dying? It's already bad enough, and then people are maybe crying or discussing already your will or your money and who gets what, and it's horrible. We don't need that. So people shouldn't be creating a lot of noise and tears around dying people, right? And then, all sorts of things happen. One becomes incontinent even well before death, certain people. Certainly some of my relatives, So then, it's painful. It's painful. So this is also, he's reminding us about death. It's good to remember death again and again, because it'll happen to people you love and it'll happen to us, If like a living fish that twists and writhes, you are so terrified while you're still alive, what need to speak of unbearable pain in hells created by past evil deeds? Yeah. You may have seen a fish that has been caught. It's, choking to death or whatever, and, twisting and all before it dies. And we are like that. We are a bit like that while still alive, But after we die, there's even more pain. And this is something that Buddhism speaks about a lot, the future life and possibility of being born in very hellish states. So it would be nice if the, the messages you see in newspapers, I used to see these a lot in Goa, pictures of little, I don't know, kind of a baby Christ or something, and then the caption that, everyone has gone to heaven, So everyone goes to heaven. Everyone goes back to their heavenly Father. That seems strange to me. Okay, good people who have engaged in a lot of good actions may go to heaven, but what about the other people? But, in the paper, everybody goes to heaven. And it's nice for us to, it's something we like to think, because if someone has suffered a lot, the relations don't then want to think that that person is then going to hell or some uncomfortable future. They want to feel, okay, now they're reunited with their loved ones on the other side, or with God, or whatever. That's comforting. But according to Buddhism, that's not what happens. We don't go straight to heaven. Unless we are very unusually good person or have yogic powers, then we can go to certain kind of pure lands, we call them in Buddhism. Like Tushita, this where you are now is the name of a pure land. You may not recognize, but we're in a pure land here. And but where we go after death, that's depends on our mind, of course. It's not a punishment from anybody. It depends on the state of our mind. We might go to sleep and have a pleasant dream or have a nightmare, whatever it is, it's produced by our mind, right? So similarly, what happens to us after death is a projection of our minds, not anybody else's mind. Certainly not some creator or powerful being punishing us. Buddhism doesn't believe that. And I think there are good reasons for that. Oh, how are we doing? Let's have discussion, especially the new people here may have some questions or doubts or something. And are there any new people online today? I don't think so. Ramanand Yadav, maybe. I'm not sure if you are new or not, sir. First time. Anyway, you can all unmute yourself. So if you could put your hand up if you want to ask, or anybody here? Yes. Yes.
So after hearing this, the one person who died, he has a meat business. But when he died, he was screaming. So is it a karma because he has, killed so many animals? So when animals die, they must be, they have that feeling, crying and,
Yes.
are scared of death. So like the same way he was suffering.
Yeah.
That's the karma.
We would say it's karmic, yes, that he died in that way. having created so much suffering for animals during his life. Yes. Of course, we might also say that it's not necessary to reap the karma of this life immediately, but it could well be that he had had several lifetimes of engaging in similar kind of action, of, being involved in the killing of humans, whether animals or whatever. But obviously, as someone in that kind of business, you can't be upset about killing. It has to be just something you do, not out of hatred. I'm not saying his company kills with hatred. I don't think butchers kill with hatred, but there's tremendous amount of ignorance involved, in the sense that not understanding the consequences of those actions, right? I think also many soldiers probably don't kill because they're enjoying it so much. They're killing, I'm sure, very often just to protect themselves. If they don't kill the other person, they will get killed. So it's not a question of hatred, but if we kill out of ignorance also, that's very negative. Ignorance is no excuse, So yeah, that is a very wrong kind of livelihood, being a butcher. I mean, being a butcher is bad enough if you're just, you kill animals in your little shop, but if you're part of a huge meat business, imagine how many animals are killed there. So then that is said, that would then stimulate other negative karma to ripen at the time of death. It's like if we have a very good, healthy, very, by and large, very good, kind attitude and a life of benefiting others, then what happens when we're about to die, more likely to stimulate positive karmic seeds from this and previous lives. So then it gives a good result. But if one is involved in a lot of non-virtue and one is gradually losing consciousness, the karmic seed that comes up is more likely to be a negative one, due to the unwholesome environment of the mind. The mind is unwholesome by and large, and in fear and so forth. So something negative is stimulated before death, just before death we're talking about. So then that gives tremendous pain and misery.
Money also,
Money,
negative money, like whatever he has earned from killing those animals.
yeah,
So that money will cause like other problem in human beings.
possible. So someone who's aware of this might decide to donate any money, close the business or sell the business, and then with the money, donate it for animal organizations or helping animals or helping sick beings, helping provide life rather than death. So then that would begin to reverse the karmic balance. Yeah, it would help purify that karma. But there are also other powerful purification practices in Buddhism, which need to be done very deliberately and systematically, which can help.
So I heard one thing that when we die, our soul has a memory. Whenever soul, left the body, human body, soul has a memory. When the new baby born, if the soul is going in that body, then eventually when a person grows, so that things comes out in the nature.
Yes. So we don't talk of soul, we talk of mind in Buddhism.
Yeah.
And the very subtle consciousness goes from one life to another. It somehow holds the seeds, the vibration, the instincts, the sanskars from the previous lives. So yes, if we are someone who has been very generous again and again in a particular life and is reborn as a human, then it is very likely more likely we have that habit of giving rather than having a habit of, say, stealing or being miserly. So there is a habit, carries on. If we kill, then the habit carries on, for sure. It is there. And the soul doesn't, this mind doesn't enter the newborn baby. It enters at the moment of conception in the mother's womb, well before birth. As soon as sperm and egg come together, then the consciousness enters that, it is said. So that's why from then on we can say there is a being in the mother's womb in that time. So not just at birth. So in that sense, you could say the very often fanatical right to life people, they're also, from Buddhist perspective, there's a lot in that, because there's a being in the womb from the very moment of conception. So if that being is killed, it's killing a being, although it's not killing a, whatever. But that's another matter. That's don't want to get into contentious matters. Yeah, thank you. Anyone else?
So when we sit to meditate, so we have to gradually feel our breath.
Yes.
Should we like inhale and exhale?
Yeah, you try and feel it at the nostrils. If that's difficult, I should have mentioned, you can also just be aware of your stomach moving in and out as you breathe in and out. But here is good because it helps the mind become a little bit more attentive. It might take some time to feel that area. And then we shouldn't be upset with the mind wandering. We have to accept this is what the mind does, but be aware of it, let go, come back to the breath. We have to be patient about that. And we can't expect to be, focused only on the breath throughout the session. That is totally unrealistic. And normal breathing. And then the exhalation can be used to feel kind of relaxed. When we breathe out, then there's relaxation, right? Nothing in chat? No? Okay. How was the meditation for you? Were you able to stay on the breath for some time? Were you able to stay on the breath for some time? Or were you very distracted? Yeah, natural. Yeah. What about you? Have you done much meditation?
Yes.
Hmm.
When I open my eyes, I feel
What about the onliners? Silent majority. हाँ जी सागर भाई क्या हो गया? Ajir ji is so happy to hear your name. He's laughing already.
Yeah, normally, and then he used to put all these tables.
Normally he comes early and puts all the tables. Today someone else had to do it. Meticulously, Ajir ji said. You have a good reputation.
Thank you, Ajit ji.
Dhanyavad Karan. हाँ जी, Anushri, are you in Rishi Valley? Yeah, Rishi Valley. We have a teacher from Rishi Valley in Andhra, the Krishnamurti school there.
Which teaching is that? Yeah. Glenn's teaching, the other person who was sitting next to me.
Yeah.
He was also teaching in Krishnamurti school.
I think that
Mr. Mathur.
Yeah, Mr. Mathur was there. Yeah. Alok Mathur. Yeah.
Alok.
Yeah. He was there.
He's MTech from IIT, but he decided to learn.
Acha.
Yeah.
Acha.
He was teaching mathematics and which subject? Geography.
Acha. What else, folks? Some of you need to cheer up online. You're looking despondent. So this is not good for enthusiasm. For us, apne ko, yeah, good. That's better.
Kabirji.
Who's that?
Kabirji.
Anushri, yes, with headphones now. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you explain verse 7 again?
Verse 7. I knew you'd ask something like that. Verse 7. Okay, I'm going to look at Pema Chodron. Get the answer from the boss. Why should I do all the work? Just because it's enthusiasm. 7. Death will be so quick to swoop on you. Gather merit till that moment comes. Wait till then to banish laziness? Question mark. Then there'll be no time. What will you do? Now you understand? This translation gives a better understanding. Death will be so quick to swoop on you, so gather merit now until that moment comes. I mean, until then. If you wait till then to banish laziness, then there'll be no time. What will you do? Because you're terrified, you're incontinent, so that's not the time.
Is there a commentary for this?
Haji?
Is there a subsequent commentary to?
Once I heard a Dharma practitioner boast, I don't have time to tame my mind or work with my kleshas because I received a special Tibetan transmission. At the moment of death, I'll just use those instructions to eject my consciousness into open space. But what a joke. If we can't even handle being told off or not getting what we want, how will we be able to handle death? This is Pema Chodron's commentary. We still have time to prepare ourselves. This is precisely the reason for Shantideva's urgency. Our death could then be a liberating experience, a falling apart into openness. Is that clear, Anushri? Where is she gone? Huh. बड़ा thumbs up हो रहा है आजकल, बड़े खुश लग रहे हैं, क्या हो गया? How are your children?
They're good. They are about to come back, so I will just go now.
Not yet come back. Very good work with them. Yeah. Warmer weather down there, I'm sure.
Yeah, warmer weather. Yeah.
Very good. Like a dream, yeah? You were in Delhi, Bodh Gaya, now you're somewhere else.
Yeah.
Is it like a dream or does it seem very real?
It's like a dream only.
Like a dream. Correct answer. Yeah. It's a bit like a dream. Yeah. So I guess life will be like that when we come to the end. It will be like a dream. Yeah. What else, folks?
How much of what does Buddhism say about karma and free will?
Buddhism says a lot about karma and free will. So much that it will take some time to talk about it. But one teacher gave a good example. He says we're like a cow at the moment, and we have a rope around our neck, and we are tied by a certain length of rope to a stake. So if it's a 10-foot rope, at the moment we have 10-foot freedom to go around and eat the grass 10 feet away from the stake. But the more we practice, the longer and longer, you could say, the rope becomes. And then one day even we're able to break the rope of our delusions, of our ignorance mainly. Yeah, ignorance, which then creates all the other delusions. And then you could say we have the ability to do a great deal more. But so long as we have this human body, I guess we will not be able to do certain things. But if we attain the body, if we attain high levels of realization, then Mahasiddhas, so-called, they can fly in the sky. They can do things that we can't do with our body, and they can do amazing things with their mind. So you could say that at a certain point, we go beyond our karmic limitations, yes. And certainly, but we have to, purify. And then you could say our choice becomes much wider, vaster. Right now, actually, if we check how much free will do we have, we are very governed by habits, by what other people say, by society, all these things. They have a very strong effect, don't you think, on us? And then our motivations, our intentions, we have certain goals in life, they are motivating us. So how much free will do we have? you know. Is it free will if we just have a lot of money, then we're free to do a lot with our money? That's not real free will, you know. Then we are sort of slaves to the money, all those things. So, yeah, we have limited free will right now. Does a Buddha have free will? Well, perhaps it's not a question one would ask at that stage. Free will. Yeah, I mean, a person whose mind is totally liberated, and it said Buddhas don't even have sort of ordinary thoughts. They just spontaneously engage in activity for the benefit of others. So yeah, that's, you could say, beyond free will. It's free will has been left behind. It's total spaciousness. But it doesn't mean Buddhas have the power to do everything. Obviously not. If they had, they would have liberated all of us by now through their power, but they can't do that. They can't stop us doing what we are doing to our planet, things like that, although they would love to, I'm sure. The Buddhas can't stop, it seems, what happens, terrible things that happen, the Buddha can't stop it. Karma is definite. So Buddha can't stop anyone dying, Up to now, Buddha hasn't stopped anybody dying, as far as I heard. So to that extent, even the Buddha doesn't have, in a sense, can do anything, But free will in the sense of being totally free of all disturbing emotions and limitations, and totally free of any kind of biased love or compassion, and having totally universal love and compassion, that is what we're capable of, but not right now. Right now we are very bound, aren't we? Very bound by our culture, language, We don't even have free will in a restaurant because we like certain food so much, we're not willing to taste anything else. Or we get upset if it's not cooked in the way that our mother cooks it or something. So what does that say about free will? We don't even have the ability to be, totally satisfied with a meal. We don't have much free will right now. But we can develop it. हाँ जी नीरज भाई ठीक हैं? You're not here.
The free will for what?
Yeah, exactly. Also free will for what?
I mean, it can't be loosely. There has to be some context.
Yeah. So free will to say what you want in a newspaper.
I think the free will to break out of your karma is probably what you're asking.
Yeah. So that's basically what I answered. But one could also ask, freedom for what? Freedom to abuse others in speech or in the newspaper in the name of, freedom of speech. Yeah. Free will. It's always a good thing to ponder, though. Yeah, free will. How much am I acting out of, in a sense of, in a liberated way, and how much is it really calculated independence upon what others are thinking of me and what I feel I should do, shouldn't do, and also my habits. How much is that governing my actions?
I think in my head, the doubt is how much merit do you need to start gathering merit? And so maybe if you start trying to gain merits, maybe in some lifetimes later you will be able to gather merit.
Do you think you have the merit to gather merit?
I think I do.
Yeah. Just by being here, we have obviously some kind of merit. Otherwise, we'd have just gone to a movie or to, cabaret or whatever. So yeah, we have merit. And we can create merit every moment, just the way we think. When you go out the door, you can just be thinking how wonderful if all beings could be well and happy and have access to the Dharma. I mean, any number of virtuous, meritorious thoughts we could have every second, any second, meaning it doesn't require us to sit in a certain posture in a meditation hall. We can be looking at an animal and thinking, I really hope that animal has a decent life, a good death, and can maybe, be human in the future. And if the animal is hungry, then we should give that animal something to eat if we have something. And not just pray for it, but if we have something that it can eat, we should give it. So yeah, we need merit. We need merit, yeah. That's why a lot of the practices are for that. And rejoicing, by the way, is one very good way to generate a lot of merit. Rejoicing in your own good actions and in the actions of others. Rejoicing. Rinpoche, Lama Zopa Rinpoche encourages that very much. And that we can do. That we can do. Well, although sometimes it's not easy. It's not easy, actually. Especially if we are in a mood where we're not feeling very confident about ourselves, feeling kind of impoverished, having this kind of despondency, and we see other people doing well in any way, in terms of their activity of any kind, worldly activity, dharma activity, we can easily get jealous, envious, which is the opposite of rejoicing, right? So that is a problem. Not easy to rejoice sometimes. But then you think of your own good actions, even small ones. Then we can begin there. Even you did a small, slight thing you think which is hopeless or not very worthy, but even if you, cooked an egg for your grandmother or, whatever, help someone to sit in a chair who needed help, rejoice in that, We've done many good things, taught and also hopefully said some good things so to help other people, so we can rejoice. The other way to create merit is simply to look at, it is said, holy images. That's why Tibetan Buddhists especially have so many images around, because it's felt that just by looking at it, even if you're not very impressed, and even if you are angry, actually, it is said it still has a positive imprint on your mind because of the power of the object, because of what it is and what it represents, the awakened mind of a Buddha. So you can look at them thinking, oh, I'd like to smash them all. And that would be in some way negative, but just by looking at them, it is said, Lama Zopa Rinpoche says, you still create some positive imprint. Like that. Yeah. In the middle, Lama Tsongkhapa. You don't know Lama Tsongkhapa? You've been coming to Gelugpa Center for so many months. Lama Tsongkhapa is the founder of the Yellow Hat School of Tibetan Buddhism. Yeah, he's lived from 1357 to 1419.
He wrote the foundation.
Huh? The Foundation of All Good Qualities is written by him. Yeah. And he wrote the great treatise on the stages of the path to enlightenment. He was an extraordinary scholar and saint. And also he had many gurus, which is nice to know, because some of his followers have become rather sectarian, but he himself was not so. He had teachers from all the other lineages of Tibetan Buddhism. He had more than 50 gurus, actually. And some of them praised him a lot, as being a very, very enlightened being. So yeah, that's Lama Tsongkhapa and his two disciples, two main disciples, Kedrubje and Gyaltsabje, who are very great scholars in their own right, and wrote quite a few texts and commentaries. Yeah. So Lama Tsongkhapa. He founded the last school of Tibetan Buddhism to really emerge on the scene. So we're talking early 15th century. That's when he established it. So the others had started much earlier, in the 8th century. Nyingma school, 8th century. Sakya school, maybe a little later. I can't remember the year. Maybe 10th, 11th century. Hagyu also, with Milarepa and all this, we're talking 10th century. Yeah. So Gelugpas came later, but then became very powerful politically with the Dalai Lamas, and especially the 5th Dalai Lama, 17th century. Yeah, and then there was also some issues between the schools, but anyway, that's beside the point. So that's Lama Tsongkhapa, yeah. And but we have also Guru Rinpoche here, and that represents more the Nyingma school of Tibetan Buddhism, the oldest one. He's also here. This is Guru Rinpoche, Padmasambhava.
There also the corner.
Corner, I've never figured out who that is. We got that statue, and I don't know who it is. But we put it together. It was in pieces.
Oh.
And we put it together and had it painted. And it's kind of nice. But I don't know who it is. But we should just regard it as, very. He looked pretty alert and enlightened. So.
And still.
Yeah. What else, folks? 8:22. Anything? Nivita, Sagar, Anushri, Gaurav, Divya, Apurva, Kundrola, monk friend who's staying with me. Anything? Elaine, the master's program graduate from Pune. Yeah. ठीक है. So, by the way, we'll be having a medicine Buddha puja day after tomorrow on Wednesday. An addition to our program, giving you pre-Christmas treats, medicine Buddha practice, which is very good for many reasons. Very powerful practice it can be. The healing Buddha practice. So that will be an hour and a half puja or so, meditation on Wednesday. Tomorrow we carry on with enthusiasm. Mm-hmm.
Will this be at the beginning?
Haji?
Will this be at the beginning or at the end?
On Wednesday, it's the whole session. Will be medicine Buddha puja.
So same time.
Same time, 6:30. Yeah. No Shantideva on Wednesday. Yeah. Haji, Elaine, you were trying to say something? Oh no, she's leaving. Okay. Sorry, Kabirji, I have to leave. Okay. Yeah, one forgets that people have to cook their meals and eat and all this. Haji, anybody? Or we can dedicate now? Any? Okay, good. So we can dedicate the positive energy. We generate it together with some verses from Shantideva himself. His 10th chapter of the text is a very wonderful dedication. And I'll read from the other translation for a change. May beings time and time again make offerings to all the Buddhas, and with the Buddha's unimagined bliss, may they enjoy undimmed and constant happiness. And thus may I abide, sustained by simple, ordinary fare, food, and in every life obtain a dwelling place in perfect solitude. To satisfy the needs of beings dwelling in the 10 directions, to the margins of the sky, may I reflect in all my deeds the perfect exploits of Manjushri. For as long as space endures, as long as there are beings to be found, may I continue likewise to remain, to drive away the sorrows of the world. May the doctrine, the only cure for sorrow, the source of every bliss and happiness, be blessed with wealth, upheld with veneration, and throughout a vast continuance of time endure. And now I bow, and now to Manju Ghosh I prostrate, whose kindness is the wellspring of my good intent, and to my virtuous friends I also bow, whose inspiration gave me strength to grow. So we dedicate that we're never separated from authentic teachings and teachers, and that all our teachers may have long and healthy lives, and that we may more and more begin to understand and to be inspired by Shantideva's wonderful text, so that we can quickly become wish fulfilling for others, greatly beneficial for others who are right now suffering. And we dedicate for people who have passed away recently, for Deepti, for Suresh Jindal, for Mirza Yassin Beg, and all the other people we know who are sick or ill or dying, or very unhappy for whatever reason. Dedicate for them. Dedicate for our parents who suffer so much. And all other family members. Dedicate, please, for Lama Zopa Rinpoche's long life, for His Holiness Dalai Lama's long life, and all the other great teachers.